Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, where it is an absolutely gorgeously warm, sunny fall day here. And today I am all about fall. I am celebrating my very favorite season with the Autumn Toile suite from the Stampin' Up! 2025 September to December mini catalog. Now, this product suite is one that was at the top of my list immediately as soon as I saw this catalog. I love fall. I love fall colors. I love fall imagery. Pumpkins are my favorite thing ever. I'm dying to redo my front porch for fall. My husband told me I have to wait till next weekend until fall is actually here. I may convince him. I don't know. We'll see. But I am all about fall. So for me, this suite is one that I really gravitated to right away. If you are like me and you like fall colors and imagery, this suite is absolutely for you. So I'm going to show you the products in the suite. We're going to make 3 projects today. I've got a bunch more to share with you. I'm going to give you some details on a class to go that is currently available to order from me. Ordering for that one closes on Friday. So I will give some details on that at the end. If I forget, remind me. I've got a sticky here to remind me, so hopefully I won't forget. So anyway, if you are joining me, whether you're catching me live or on the replay, let me know that you're here and where you're watching from. I saw some of you coming in just before I went live. We've got Becky from Kansas and Jamie from Utah, Jeannie K in Fredericton, Susan from Florida, Christine from Illinois, Crystal from Uxbridge, and Terry, hello. Hi, Colleen, way out in PEI. Hi, Suzanne from Washington, and Charlie, welcome. Hi, Janet and Liata and Holly. Hi, Krista. How you doing? Hi, Deb and Cheryl. Welcome. All right, Lucy in Ohio. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to flip to my desk. I'm going to show you these beautiful products, and then we're going to get to our projects. Okay. So let me. I almost hit the end stream button. I'm out of practice. It's been a 2 weeks since I was live, and my goodness. Here we go. All right. So this is a mega suite. So a mega suite by definition is one that has 2 bundles in it. So we have an image and sentiment bundle, which is the Amber Autumn bundle. This is my favorite of the 2 in the suite. You're going to see me kind of skewing towards this one a little bit more than the other in my projects today, but I absolutely love both of these images. They're so much fun to color. Whatever coloring media you like, whether it's watercolor or Stampin' Blends or watercolor pencils, it's easy to color. The shading's all done for you, so it's easy to get your shading in. It's just lovely. And then, of course, we have beautiful sentiments in really pretty fonts. The dies, this background die for me was the one that sold me on the bundle. This detailed sort of intricate leaf die cut. You'll see that on some samples later on. We've got 2 open dies to cut our stamped images and then a couple of extra dies to sort of fill out our arrangement. So that's the Amber Autumn bundle. And then we also have the Autumn Trees bundle. Now this one has no sentiment. So this is an image only bundle. So we have open dies. So this large tree, you can stamp the large tree and die cut it. You're going to see that on our first project, or you can cut a detailed tree by using both together. Okay. These leaves are intended to layer. You'll see this on some samples later onto the die cut tree. And then we have sort of a smaller tree or shrub. We've got some open dies to cut stamped images, and then our cute little mama and baby deer. So really great. Again, not just fall images. What I like about this one is that it can be used for just about any season, and it's great for masculine cards. So for those of us that struggle with how to come up with something for the men in our lives, this is a really good one. So those are the bundles. Let me show you the beautiful paper in this suite. So this DSP pack's a little bit different from what we typically carry. Normally our DSP packs have 6 different sheets that are double-sided, and you get 2 of each. So for a total of 12. This pack has 4 different sheets that are double-sided, and you get 3 of each. So this is kind of like a bulk pack, which is great if you're like me and you're running classes with this event or with this product. So it just gives it a little bit of bulk. Okay, so we have these beautiful Toile images. We've got our foxes. Look how cute those little foxes are. In the Cajun Craze, we've got our pumpkin pie. I absolutely love this pattern. I want napkins or something in this pattern. We've got our pheasants. This just reminds me of a northern scene here in Northern Ontario. This reminds me of this, looking out my parents' window where they live. And then we have our forest scene with our trees and deer. And then on the back side, we have great sort of neutral patterns. We've got an early espresso grid. Excuse me. We've got some vines with, so it's early espresso on gray granite. We've got a gray granite sort of diamond pattern and then a stripe. Okay, so that's the paper. And then we have this fantastic earthen tones metallic specialty paper. You actually get 3 12 by 12 sheets in the pack. This is sort of a between pecan pie and early espresso. It's a real sort of copper, but a deep copper. Absolutely gorgeous. So that is the paper. And then we also have some fantastic embellishments. I am loving this irregular weave trim. It's a little bit different. It's very similar. I was trying to figure out to describe the color of it. It says vanilla, but it's not vanilla. It's actually, if you have two-tone pecan pie cardstock, it's like the light pecan pie. It's very close to that color. And then we also have our street dots embellishments, which again are very similar in sort of tone and color to the metallic specialty paper. So that is the suite. Let's just see who else has come in here. We've got Lucy joining. Hi, Donna. Charlie, we did. Oh, it was a week, let me tell you. We did get away, not on our originally planned trip, but we did get away for a few days. So it wasn't quite the vacation that we had planned, but it was still a nice little getaway. So, all right. So our first project today is this one. So I wanted to show you how you could easily put together a masculine birthday card using the products in this suite. So let me show you how to do this one. It's our quick and easy one for today. So I'm starting with a pecan pie card base. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll go ahead and fold that in half along our score line. And then we're going to do a little stamping directly on our card base. I don't often do this. I'm all about layers usually, but I'm going for quick and easy. So we're going to do some stamping right on our card base. So I'm going to stamp tone on tone with Pecan Pie ink, and I'm going to use this acorn and oak leaf stamp from the Amber Autumn set. And I'm just going to stamp down sort of the right side of my card base. So I'm not trying to, you know, get the entire image. Ooh, that wasn't so good. That's all right. We'll hide that. I'm not trying to get the entire image, just like that. But we'll hide it. It's all good. There's no such thing as mistakes, right? Only opportunities to be creatively embellished. All right, so there is our card base. Next, we're going to come in with our large tree image. So I've already gone ahead and stamped and die cut this. I didn't do my die cut blank trick with this one because it's such a large die cut. It's a little bit tricky to line up if you're trying to use that little trick. So this one is actually easier to stamp and cut. Okay. All right, so we're going to just add color to this with our blending brushes. You know me, I love blending brushes, and it's really easy. This is a large image, so it's easy to add color just with blending brushes. It's really fast, faster than coloring. So I'm going to start. First, I should mention, I stamped this in early espresso ink on very vanilla cardstock. Okay, all right, so I'm going to take my Pecan Pie ink, and I'm going to start at the base of my tree here. And I'm going to add some color to the trunk and the branches that are visible there. See how quick and easy it is to color that way? Now, there are also some branches up here. I'm not going to worry about those because they're going to be covered for the most part by my sentiment. And I'm just not going to worry about making them brown. They're just going to be part of the leaves. All right, next I'm going to come in with some Cajun Craze. And we are going to basically ink the whole top part of the leaves here in the Cajun Craze. I am going to overlap where the Pecan Pie is as well, because I don't want a sort of a white gap there between those two colors. They kind of need to morph into each other. So I'm coming all the way around. I am applying some pretty good pressure here because I really want this to be nice and vibrant. Okay. See how quick and easy it is to color that image with some blending brushes? It's pretty just like that, but we're going to add a little hint of, well, it's actually going to be red. It looks orange, but it's going to be red. So I'm going to come in with my cherry cobbler. At least I think I used red. I designed this card a while ago, so it may be a surprise. And I'm going to start now. I don't know if you noticed, but often one part of the tree, we noticed this when we were driving back from our little getaway, that parts of trees had like vibrant color and then other parts were still green. It was really very interesting. So I'm just going to kind of come around the outside with the cherry cobbler, and that's going to give me that hint of orange, but I have a feeling I may have used Cajun Craze, not cherry cobbler. Oh well, that's all right. It'll be a slightly different colored tree. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to go back over that with a little bit of the crushed curry just to get that a little bit more vibrant. Pretty sure I used Cajun Craze on this one. Oh well, doesn't matter. All right, so we're going to come back over this. And what I find is when I come back in, that's when those colors really start to blend. I'm pulling that red and yellow together, and that's when you get that really vibrant color. This is an important step when you're ink blending, is to come back in with your lighter shade, and you get a much nicer blend. Okay, there you go. There's your tree. Quick and easy. All right, now we're going to go ahead and start assembling our card. So we've got our card base. Our tree is going to get glued on. Look at that. I'm going to be able to cover those leaves, no problem. I'm going to maybe slide my tree over just a smidge to hide my little stamping boo-boo there. And we're just going to glue this directly onto our card base. So just a little bit of liquid glue here. And you do want to make sure your tree is straight. Trees always grow towards the sky. Even when they're planted on a hillside, they somehow manage to grow straight. So we want to have our trees straight. All right, next I'm going to bring in my little die cut deer. So this is a mama and baby deer. And I'm going to actually do a little bit of surgery here. Not on the deer, not to worry. Our deer are going to remain intact. But I am going to cut away all of this extra. So we've got some sort of bulrushes there, some grass and a rock. I don't want any of that. So I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to cut this off here. And then I'm just going to take my snips and kind of slide them in there and trim off that grass as well. I could probably leave the grass, but I just want the focus to be on mama and baby. Okay. All right. Yes, the tree is a sugar maple. I'm Canadian, Charlie. Of course it's a sugar maple. All right, we're going to darken down our mama and baby, and I pulled out my early espresso earlier and then I put it back. I was doing something else and I had all my bins for today put together, and then I had to pull out the early espresso and forgot to put it back in. So here we go. We're going to add just a little bit of early espresso to our dear friends here. And mainly because I want them to stand out from my background. I don't want them to be the same shade. I thought about doing them in early espresso. In fact, I cut them out of early espresso, but they were too dark. It's too stark a contrast. So by using just a little bit of ink blending, it gives us some nicely shaded deer that will stand out from the background, but not be too stark. Okay. All right. Yeah, Facebook is doing all kinds of crazy, bizarre things. Krista, I don't know what's going on with Facebook. All right, so I'm going to lay my little deer on here, kind of where I want them to go. And then I need to think about where I want my strip to go. So the strip is going to go about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3/8 up from the bottom edge. And we're actually going to glue our deer to the back of the strip. Okay, or we could glue, actually, you know what? Let's just stick them onto the card. I just found it easier to put a little bit of seal or liquid glue on my deer, like that. Position them where I want them, and then lay my strip down. Straight is better than not straight. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so that kind of gets them positioned where I want them. And then I can flip this little strip over, add a little more glue. A little bit of glue to mama and baby. And then we'll stick this onto our card. Yeah, this is about 3/8 of an inch up from the bottom. Just looking at my grid paper here, eyeballing it. This little strip is obviously some Autumn Toile DSP. It's 3/4 of an inch wide by 4 1/4 inches long. So it will run the full width of our card base. Okay. And then we're going to stamp a sentiment. So this sentiment is from Simply Said, I believe. It's just a simple birthday greeting. And I'm stamping on a label cut with the traditional labels die. So that is from another fantastic suite in the new September, December mini. And you're going to see that one in a few weeks. Speaking of, I actually have I'm taking registration for a virtual retreat featuring the Traditions of Christmas suite. So if you are in Canada and you love that suite, you may want to have a look at that virtual retreat. So to anyone in Canada, sadly, I can't ship across the US border. So our American friends are not able to participate in the full event, unfortunately. So I have my 3 leaves here. These are cut, again, using the Amber Autumn dies from Curry, Cajun Craze, and Pecan Pie. And I'm going to layer the Crushed Curry and Cajun Craze just with a little bit of seal. So I'm just going to put a bit of seal on the back of my Cajun Craze leaf here. And I'm just going to kind of crisscross them like that. Then the cool thing about these labels is they have these little sort of cut through pieces. So I'm going to tuck these leaves in behind the label, but on top of the frame. Can you see how I did that? You can see they're kind of hanging out back there. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more seal here to tack them into place. Okay. And then I have my Pecan Pie leaf. I'm going to add that to the back of the label. It's not going to tuck through the label, but just kind of be peeking out from behind it like that. Okay. All right. Now we're going to add a little bit of early espresso linen thread. So this is from our other fall suite, which you're going to see in action next week. And I am, look at this. This is already my 3rd roll of this. I'm using so much early espresso. I haven't used as much of the old olive yet. It comes in a 2-pack. You get old olive and early espresso, and I cannot stop using this stuff. So I'm going to take and apply a little bit of seal to the back of my label here. I'm going to take my twine and wrap it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times around 3 fingers. And then we're going to slide the loops off. I'm kind of holding where the tails are because I don't really want to see the ends behind, like out behind my label. So I'm just going to let the loops relax a little bit and stick this on. I'm going to make sure that these tails kind of are hidden on the back of the label. Just kind of stick them on there. And then once it's kind of stuck down, you can arrange your loops a little bit more so that you get an arrangement that you like. Okay, it's much easier to manage when you've got it stuck down, then you can kind of arrange. All right, let's grab a couple of dimensionals. Got a fresh new sheet of dimensionals here, except this one is sticking. So we'll take that one off right away because it pulled the backing off of it. And we're going to pop this on. Oh, I'm trying to take the backing off the one that already had the backing off. That's what happens when I talk and stamp at the same time. And then we're going to adhere our label over the tree, just like that. And you can see all those branches that we didn't color brown, don't matter because you don't see them. And then our last touch are some of our streaked dots. I did these horizontally here. I think I'm actually going to switch this and just do 2 vertically like this. I think I like that better. It's a little bit heavy, less heavy. This for me is visually a little bit too much. And there you go, done and done. Easy, quick. On the inside, I just added a sentiment, another birthday sentiment, and stamped some more oak leaves, and we're done. Okay. All right. Let me clean up my mess here. I'm going to need a few of these things to stay out, so I'm not digging for them later. There we go. All right. Next up, we're changing up our color scheme big time. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, I'm going to get rid of my grid paper here. I'm just going to flip this over so that it's, yes, this is the metric side. If you're not used to seeing the metric side of grid paper, that's what it looks like. This is our next card. I posted this one yesterday, and it's sort of got a soft color palette, a little bit less vibrant, but I love the softness of this one. So I'm going to show you how to put this one together. So I'm going to grab, to start, my background piece. So this is a piece of two-tone cardstock. It's basic beige, two-tone cardstock. So the back side of basic beige is very, very close to very vanilla. So if you are wondering, apparently we do have very vanilla two-tone. I don't have any. I have the basic beige, and it is very, very close if you use the light side of the basic beige. But we're going to use the dark. And I'm going to bring in, I've got a sanding block. This is from years ago when Stampin' Up used to carry two-tone cardstock, or white cork cardstock, I should say. And I still have it. So it's coming in quite handy. So I'm just going to run this across my embossed image here. This is embossed using the Gathered Leaves embossing folder. Absolutely gorgeous folder. Also part of the suite that I'm going to be featuring next week. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that one. But suffice to say, it is a must-have folder if you like fall. All right, there we go. I'm not going to be too heavy-handed with this because I don't want too much of the white showing. I want just enough to kind of highlight the leaves. Isn't that pretty? So soft. All right. Oh, you had baby deer on your property. That's so sweet. My parents, where they live, they have quite a few deer. And they have a doe who always has a baby or two every year. All right, so we have a piece of this is the pumpkin pattern on the back side, but we're going to use this sort of gray granite neutral pattern. It's going to get glued onto our background, but first we're going to stamp our sentiment. Now, on my sample, I feel like my sentiment is too close to my focal image, so I'm going to stamp it a little bit closer towards the right end, so that it ends up being a bit more centered once I put my card together. So I'm going to stamp in basic gray ink. And we're going to stamp this a little bit more to the right. Ooh, that's not very dark. Don't worry, we'll hide that. This is my trick. So if you stamp on one end and it doesn't turn out, let's just make sure that that's good and inky. That's looking better. And we'll do it on this end. There we go. That's better. All right. I'm a stamping failure today. That's twice now I've stamped and haven't gotten great images. All right. We are going to glue this on to our card front, or our background panel. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue. This piece is 2 by 5 1/4 inches. I've got all of my measurements in the video description if you're looking for them. So I'm just going to pop this on just like that. And then we're going to add a little bit of cloud cover faux linen ribbon. So this is one of our in color ribbons, and I picked up a bunch more. I had a lot, but I picked up more because I love them during the in color sale last month. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off a piece, put glue dots on each end. And then we're just going to lay this across the front of our card. About, I don't know, half, quarter inch, I guess, up from the bottom of our DSP panel. And look at that, most of my Stampin' Boo-Boos covered already with my ribbon. All right, we're going to set that aside for a few minutes. Actually, you know what? Let's glue that onto our card base. So our card base is gray granite. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll go ahead and fold that in half along our score line, and we'll glue this on just so that it's out of the way. we go. So I'm going to flip this over, give it a bit of a burnish. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Hi, Peggy. Didn't see you sneak in there. Welcome. All right. So now we'll set that aside and we're going to spend a little bit of time coloring our pumpkins. So I stamped the pumpkins in Basic Gray. Basic Gray is one of the colors that will not run. It's a classic ink, but you can use it with our Stampin' Blends. And yes, I used a lot of colors of Stampin' Blends to color. Now, I just wanted soft colors, so that's what I went for. You'll see other samples where I've used bright, vibrant fall colors. So to start, I'm using light and dark cloud cover. That's to color this sort of chubby pumpkin in the front. So I'm going to start with my light. I'm going to color the whole pumpkin with the light. And I will try and do this as quickly as possible. I didn't want to do this ahead of time because I wanted to show you all how I colored it. There we go. And then I'm going to come in with the dark, and wherever the hash marks are on the pumpkin, I'm just going to add a little bit of shading. I'm not adding too much because I don't want it to be too dark. Just like that. That's all there is to it. Okay, so that's the cloud cover. This guy in behind is done in light and dark peach pie. So again, I'm going to start with my light. I'm going to color the whole pumpkin with the light. Oh, even just coloring these pumpkins makes me happy. I cannot wait to get pumpkins from my porch. I was at Costco today and they had all kinds of cool, like funky warty pumpkins and in really cool colors. They actually had one that was very close to cloud cover. They had some white pumpkins. I so wanted to buy a bunch. I didn't. I held back. And then just like we did on this one, I'm going to come in with the dark peach pie. And again, add a little bit of shading wherever the hash marks are. I'm being quite quick with this dark shade because I don't want to darken it too much. Now I am going to I missed a couple of little spots here. So I'm just going to come in again with my light and just fill in some of those gaps that I left as I was talking and coloring. Okay, and then this little gourd in behind, I actually used ivory, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to come in, or maybe I used light. I don't know. I'm going to use ivory. Oh no, it's pretty close. So this is one of the two skin tone. This is you get a ivory and bronze. So this one makes a nice, almost white looking pumpkin. And then for my corn, I think I used light lemon lolly. I think I grabbed the wrong color. Yes, I did. Okay, so for the corn, I'm using light lemon lolly. And again, just really quick. Here we go. And then the husks, I use light crumb cake because they are very close to the color of what corn husks look like about this time of year. All dried out. There we go. For my leaves, I'm using light Lost Lagoon. So I've got a little maple leaf in here. Maybe it's a pumpkin leaf. Pumpkin leaves are similar in shape to maple leaves. But this Canadian's going to call it a maple leaf. So some light Lost Lagoon, and then I'm going to get these little leaves back in here in the same shade. There we go. And then, oh, I'm going to do just a couple little dabs of it here on this little bit of grass. And then the rest is really just done in light gray granite. So the stems on the pumpkins, I should say, all of them are in the same light gray granite. The vines And then all of these little blades of grass. I didn't spend a lot of time on these. I just kind of brushed over them to give a hint of color. And there we go. Done. All right. Let's get those out of the way and we'll finish putting this together. So I have also several die cut pieces. I've got two very vanilla leaves. I'm going to keep some of my these little centers of the leaves. They work really well as little sprigs in your arrangements. So don't throw them away. I have been collecting them and they're just great little things to have to add a little extra texture. All right, so I have two very vanilla, two cloud cover, and then I have two glimmer sprigs. So this is from the Peaceful Garden glimmer paper. It doesn't say it's cloud cover because it's not an exact match, but it's pretty darn close. So I'm calling it cloud cover. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put some seal on the back of my pumpkins here. I'm first going to adhere my glimmer for a little bit of shimmer and shine. And then we're going to add, this is where we can add an extra little sprig there of the cloud cover. And then a little bit more seal. And we'll add a berry vanilla leaf and a cloud cover leaf. I'm going to stick, yep. And then we're going to add the vanilla one here and a cloud cover there. Here a leaf, there a leaf, everywhere a leaf. There we go. And then if I wanted to, I could certainly add these extra little sprigs, but I think I'm good. All right, now this is going to get popped up on the front of our card with some dimensionals, and you'll see how that little boo-boo that will vanish magically when we add our focal element here. So we'll just add a couple of dimensionals there. Thanks, Deb. I love these colors too. I like the soft and pretty. I love the vibrant fall colors, don't get me wrong, but I also love the soft, pretty shades. So there we go. And then our last couple of touches, we're going to tie a bow with this beautiful ribbon. So we'll make our bunny ears, left over right, around and through. And what I like to do is pull my knot fairly tight, but start with really small loops here, and then pull it nice and tight. And then you get a nice size bow with a nice tight knot. So we'll trim off our tails. And then somewhere, there's my glue dots. We're going to tuck this in. Now with this ribbon, I find I need 2 glue dots to hold my bows on. So we're going to tuck that in just at the edge of our pumpkins there. And then the last touch are some of our cloud cover flat pearls. So we'll just add a couple of these. And there we go. Done. You like that one? Now on the inside of this one, I added a white panel and stamped a sentiment and again, some more pumpkins. Okay. Yes, leaves are turning here. They aren't falling yet, but it was amazing, even just in the few days driving out and then back from where we were, there was actually quite a change in color in just a couple of days we were noticing. All right, last card I have for you today is a fun fold. It's been a while since I did a fun fold when I'm live. So this is a really simple fun fold, but it features those beautiful oak leaves. I am a sucker for acorns and oak leaves. I just love them. So this one opens like this and then like this. So the focal image actually helps keep our card shut. It acts as like a little clasp. So it kind of tucks in like that. It's a really simple fun fold, but I'm going to show you how to make it. All right. As with any fun fold, I always make myself a template. And then write my measurements right on it so it's easy to recreate. So this one starts as a 5.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, and then it's scored at 1 1/4, 5.5, and 9 1/4. So again, these dimensions are in the video description. So, but I really recommend making a template like that so you have it for future reference. All right, so I am making my card base out of early espresso cardstock. So again, it's 5.5 by 11, scored at 1 1/4. Sorry, 1 1/4, 5 1/2, and 9 1/4. So I'm going to start with that 1 1/4 inch score line. I'm going to fold that inwards and really crisp that up. Okay. The next one is my 5 1/2 inch score line. Again, I'm going to fold that one inwards and burnish it really well. Okay. And then this last one, I'm going to fold inwards as well and burnish that really well. Okay, so you can see how that is going to tuck in and lay like that. Now we're actually going to end up gluing this flat down. It's going to become like a little pocket for all of our greenery here. That said, you can certainly leave this unglued, and this is another really neat fold. Okay, but for our purposes, we're going to end up gluing that flat. All right, let's carry on here. So we are going to work on decorating the front of our card. I've got all sorts of pieces of DSP. They're all actually from the same sheet. Okay, so we're going to use the trees pattern as well as the grid. So you can cut all of these from one sheet. So for the front, this front panel here, we have a piece that is, and I flipped my grid paper over, it's 2 1/4 by 5 3/8. So that is going to get glued. So we have an equal border on 3 sides like that. Okay, so we'll add a little glue. And we're going to glue that. So this is going on that large front panel here. And we're gluing it so we have an equal border on 3 sides. That'll be a narrow 1/16 of an inch border. Okay. All right. That is eventually going to get glued flat. We're not going to glue it yet. On this little panel here, we're going to adhere a piece that is the trees pattern. And this one is 1 5/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so we're going to glue that one on. Oh, are we? Yes, we are. We're good. Yeah. I had to stop and think. We have to put ribbon on, but not yet. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue this one on. I'm just paying attention to make sure my edges line up top and bottom here so I have a nice clean look. We'll give that a good burnish. Okay, and then on this front panel here, I'm going to put a piece of embossed early espresso cardstock. This is 1 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it is going to get layered like that. Now, again, I've embossed it using that gathering leaves or gathered leaves embossing folder. It is an online exclusive, part of another beautiful autumn suite. I feel so spoiled this year. Stampin' Up gave me 2 beautiful autumn suites. So I'm going to be featuring that one next week. All right, so there we go. We've got our card front pretty much put together. We also are going to add some DSP to the inside. The nice thing about this is that you can add DSP to really showcase the paper and decorate your card beautifully. So on the inside of the front panel, this one is 3 5/8 by 5 3/8. So that one's going to get glued there. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm using the tree pattern this time. So we'll pop that on, make sure that's straight. And then I have another 1 1/8 by 5 3/8 inch strip. This time I'm going to use the grid pattern on the inside. So we'll pop that one on there. We will do our vanilla piece in the center in a little bit. We're going to stamp it before we glue it. Okay, so that's our card base basically done. Now we are going to add some ribbon and some sprigs. I got lots of stuff here. Okay, we're going to set this aside for now. So in this little sort of pocket that we're going to create, first of all, we're going to add some ribbon. So this is our beautiful irregular weave trim, and it is quite stiff. Okay, when you take it off the roll, you're going to be like, how the heck am I supposed to tie this? You can soften it up by simply taking your bone folder and just kind of taking some of the starch out of it. Okay, you can see that it's curling, and it it's much more pliable once you do that. So this is going to get adhered pretty much in the middle of that little tree panel. It's going to get glued right across there, and the ends are going to get tucked and glued to the inside of that little flap. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of seal top and bottom. I'm going to lay my trim across the middle-ish of that little panel and secure it. Okay, now we're going to add a bunch of sprigs and whatnot. So this little guy is actually the little tree from the Amber Autumn dies. It's this little one here, but it works rather well as branches or twigs. So I've cut it from two-tone Pecan Pie cardstock. So there's a light and a dark. You see those? So I'm going to do a light and a dark at the top and a light and the dark at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is kind of get an idea. My seal is going to go just inside where my DSP sits, right about there. And I'm going to add, and I'm just going to make sure that that's about right. And a little bit more. And then same thing at the bottom. You just want to take care that you're not extending past the bottom edge, or you'll have a hard time getting it into an envelope. Put a little bit in there. And then I have some grass cut from Darling Duckling cardstock. So we're going to tuck that in. And a little bit more on the bottom. And then I have two leaves cut from that beautiful earth and tone metallic. Again, a little bit of seal. And let's just see where that's going to go. Yep, that's about right. And a little bit more down the bottom. All right, so once we've got all those glued on, now we're going to seal this little flap. Okay, so we're going to glue that nice and tight. I'm going to use liquid glue. I just feel like the liquid glue holds a little bit better than the seal, especially the tension that is going to be placed because of this. It's folded and it's going to kind of bump over all of this greenery. The liquid glue is going to secure it. Now we do have to give it a minute to set, but I feel like it's going to hold a little bit better. Oh, I'm seeing your comments, Sheila. Welcome. Yes, it is a beautiful suite. I agree. Oh, thanks, Peggy. I'm glad you like that second card. I'm going to just read comments as I'm sitting here holding my flap for my glue to dry. All right, there we go. We are almost there. Now we're going to work on our focal image. So I have here this largest sort of dash circle from the Spotlight on Nature dies. I've die cut it from Very Vanilla cardstock and stamped and colored the oak leaves and acorns. Okay. I also have blank oak leaves and acorns that we are going to stamp and color. I'm going to show you how to color them. I'm just going to clean this really quickly. And we're going to do our, a reverse stamping trick, except I got to get a block to press down. Okay. So I'm going to ink this up with early espresso. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. If you have a very juicy early espresso pad, like mine is quite juicy, do you see that? If you stamp and then try to color with blends, it will bleed, okay, because it's a lot of ink. So what you want to do is stamp this off just lightly, take off some of that ink, and then lay your die cut blank on top. I'm going to press it with a block. And I get a beautiful image, but it's just a little bit lighter, a little bit less ink, and it's going to be easier to color and it won't bleed as much. Okay. All right. So now we're going to color our leaves and acorns. I'm going to start with the acorns. I'm using light and dark Pecan Pie. So I'm going to color both of the acorns in the light Pecan Pie. These little guys are a little quicker to color than the pumpkins. When I go for my morning walks, there's a couple of oak trees, and they're all starting to drop their acorns. I have to watch my step or I'm going to end up being like a cartoon character stepping on a bag of marbles. And then just like I did on the pumpkins, I'm going to add shadow wherever the shading is, wherever those hash marks are, using the dark Pecan Pie. And then using the same dark Pecan Pie, I'm going to color the caps on our acorns. Just for a little bit of contrasting color there. Actually, I looked closely at the acorns this morning when I was out walking, and they're actually lighter than the acorn. I've been coloring them wrong. Oh well. And then for the branch, I'm using one of the lighter of the two shades in the dark blends combo. So this is SU200. That's the number that's stamped on it, but it's the lighter of the two shades in the dark, or deep, I think it's called. It's deep skin tones pack. And then finally, our leaves, we're going to color using Darling Duckling. Darling Duckling is a great yellow. It's got a fair bit of green in it. I kind of think of it as a slightly lighter shade than my beloved Wild Wheat, the former In Color that I am missing so much. This is my first fall without Wild Wheat in a couple of years, and I'm missing it. I love Wild Wheat. It's such a great gold. So I'm coloring again, with the light Darling Duckling. And then I'm going to come in with the dark, and again, go over anywhere where there's a hash mark. I'm kind of going over the veins as well, just adding some shading. And then same thing with my second one. I'll just shade that guy in. And then again, add a little bit of shading with the dark. There we go. All right, now we're going to actually layer these. So I like the fullness of the layered leaves. So we're going to, we've got these guys that are going to kind of be this way, and then we're going to layer our second, our die cut ones over top of it. So I'm going to add some dimensionals. And we're going to pop this on kind of like this. Okay. And then that is going to get glued onto our card. Now we have to think about the fact that this little panel, this little flap is going to tuck underneath our focal image, right? So when we go to put this on, we want to make sure we're putting dimensionals sort of on this part, the back of this part of the image, and nothing on this side. So I'm just going to take and flip this. I'm going to kind of put my hand where I don't want dimensionals to go. And we're going to add several. You want this to be sturdy, right? This is what's going to hold our card shut. So we don't want it to sort of peel off as a result of the strain. Okay, so I've got probably way more dimensionals than I need, but you know, better safe than sorry. So I'm going to get rid of my backings here. And then I'm going to flip this back over. And I'm just going to kind of think about where I want this to go. It's going to be centered on the front of my card here. But I just want to make sure there's no dimensionals so that that flap will pop out. Okay. So now we have our card closed. We're going to add a fussy cut sentiment. So this is just stamped on Pecan Pie cardstock. It's actually two-tone cardstock. It's easier to fussy cut the lighter weight two-tone cardstock than it is our regular weight cardstock. So that's just a little tip if you are wanting to stamp and fussy cut. And we're going to adhere this to the front of our card, just like that. And then I have, this is the same trim, but I cut it in half lengthwise. So it's a half width. And again, I'm going to soften it up with my bone folder. And then I'm going to tie myself a little bow. I wanted it to be a slightly smaller scale bow than what I would get with the full size or the full width, which is why I cut it in half. Now this does make you work a little bit to get your loops because it does catch as you're pulling it. So you do have to work at it. But you can absolutely cut this stuff in half. It stays intact. The ribbon does not fall apart. It looks like it would, but it does not. And then that is going to get glued onto our focal image there, kind of over top of where the ribbon runs behind it. So let me just grab my almost empty glue dots. This is a lot. Oh, maybe I got one more out of this roll. There we go. And then our last touch. Oh, we got to do the inside too. Our last touch is some of our streaked dots. So we'll do 1 and 2 and 1 more up here. There we go. All right, now on the inside, before I forget, this panel is 4 by 5 3/8. No, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Yes, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. We're going to stamp our acorns again. Again, I'm going to ink, stamp off, and then stamp them onto my card. Oh, that's not so pretty. Let's try that again. Wow, that's three stamping fails in one live. That's pretty bad. I'm not going to worry about stamping off because I'm not going to be coloring these ones. They're a little bit dark, but that's okay. All right, now that that is stamped, we're going to go ahead and glue that inside our card. Oop, not that one. This one. Again, I just want to make sure all my edges line up. Things are nice and even. There we go. And done. All right. So there are our 3 projects for today. Now let me show you some more. I got lots more because I just absolutely love this suite. So here we go. So if you caught my live launch party on launch day, you saw me make this card. This was one of the make and takes. Here is another one. This uses, again, 2-tone cardstock. So I'm using the lighter side of the Pecan Pie with that intricate leaf die cut. Isn't it pretty? And there's some pumpkins colored in more traditional colors. This one I actually made before I got my Autumn Toile DSP. So I used some of the plaid, whatever the plaid is, something plaid. I was in the mini in the spring, and then some of the wood grain, the Country Woods DSP. Oh, I should also mention I colored my pumpkins with watercolor pencils on that one, just for a softer look. Here's another one with my oak leaves. So this one, I use that embossing folder again, and I actually die cut a large oak leaf. This, again, is from the suite that you're going to see next week. Colored my oak leaves in green, just for something a little bit richer. And then here is another one with that beautiful intricate die cut. This time I popped up the die cut with some of the DSP in the background. My oak leaves this time I heat embossed in copper and then watercolored with just some ink and a blender pen. And then finally, a fun fold. So here is that large leaf, large tree die cut. So I die cut the tree in Espresso and then again in Pecan Pie, cut out the leaves, add some layered Cajun Craze leaves, and of course my little deer. So this is a double Z fold. Pops up like that. And then there is the back. And then finally, one swap card that I received. So this one uses that beautiful deer die cut and the twigs tree that we were using as twigs, and some new label dies that you will see at a later date as well. All right, there we go. Do you like those? Now, before I go, I did say I would mention my Autumn Toile class to go. Ordering ends on Friday. So in this class, you get to customize. You have 3 options. You can choose 4 cards, and a sampler, a 9x9 sampler, all of which were designed by me. You could choose 4 cards and 2 double scrapbook layouts, which were designed by my demonstrator partner in the US, Rosemary Massaro. Let me just switch to my face here so you can see me talking. And then your third option is the sampler and the layout. So if you are a scrapbooker, not a card maker, you're probably not watching this video, to be honest. But if you are and you just want the layouts and the sampler, that is an option. You can actually also get all 3, the 4 cards, the sampler, and the double layouts. So that is available for ordering. The link is, if you go scroll down to the caption, there is a link there that will take you to the registration info for that. That class is available for purchase both in Canada and the US. And the tutorial only option is available worldwide. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really excited to be partnering with a US demonstrator to be able to offer some of my American friends some class ideas. So check that out. Again, last day to purchase that one is Friday. Okay. I think that's everything. Oh, I also mentioned that Traditions of Christmas virtual retreat earlier. The link that's in my video description will also take you to information on that. Okay. All right. That's it for me. Thank you for joining me this week. I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.